Please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Motion to approve the agenda, please.
So moved.
Second.
Moved by Dana, seconded by Mark, that we approve the agenda. Is there any discussion? All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same. Motion carries. To the consent agenda, you have a copy of the minutes of May 15th of 2023. We need approval of the bills and claims, of which you also have a copy. And we have the following licenses and permits. Liquor license, Class C retail alcohol license, that's Cancun by the Lake. Class E retail alcohol license, that's Come and Go number 301 and number 302. Class E retail alcohol license, Quick Star, number 1066. Class B retail alcohol license, Weathered Elements, those are renewals. Cigarette permit, Dollar General number 4616 and Quick Shop. Those are renewals. Excavator license, Rock Central LLC, renewal. Street closing request, Twin City F100 Club, June 16 and 17. And a tax abatement application from Gene and Steve Kuntz, 303 Oak Hill Court. Motion, please.
So moved.
Second.
Moved by Gary, seconded by Mike, that we approve the consent agenda. Is there any discussion? All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same. Motion carries. Now is the time and place for anyone in the audience who wishes to address the council on any item that is not on the agenda. Please approach the podium, state your name first and last, and give your address so that the clerk may properly enter in the minutes. This is not a discussion time nor a question and answer time, but it is an opportunity for you to speak to the council. None appearing, we'll move on to unfinished business, of which we have none. We'll go directly to new business. A, South 15th Street, Everybody Plays Inclusive Park and Playground Project. Project update, a review of pay estimate number 5 by Scott Flory, City Administrator. Welcome, Scott.
Thank you, Mayor. Council, the yellow sheets in your packet address this item. This is pay application number 5 for, as the mayor indicated, the Everybody Plays Inclusive Park and Playground Project on South 15th Street. So the original contract amount, as you recall, was the $1,997,500. We have the contract items completed to date, total just under $184,000, minus the retainage, which is about $9,200. So the total that the contractor's been paid to date is just under that $175,000. Then when you deduct this current application, which is a pay application, which is $28,934.57. That's the net amount that would be payable on this pay application with the retainage taken out of it. So retainage on this pay estimate is $1,522.87. So as I mentioned, the pay out to the contractor, Dean Snyder, on this would be $28,934.57. So if we flip the page over, kind of working our way through, again, you can just kind of see the original contract amount, the previously completed work. As I mentioned, the work completed for this pay period is the $30,457 figure. So we're about 10% close. Got balance to finish of a little over $1.8 million. And then the payment detail on the final sheet, yellow sheet there, identifying for the work completed this pay period. Again, $11,527.67 is for general conditions. Then for this pay period, the foundations, they're getting the footings in for the restroom facility. They got the steel in for the restroom facility roof structure and so forth. So that's what you'll see there when you see the concrete and masonry work, and then also the steel items there. So. I don't know if anyone has any questions on the pay application, but be happy to answer those.
So the current amount due, Scott, is the 25,000?
No, 28.
28,934.57,
Yep.
right? All right.
Yep.
Any further questions, comments for Scott? Thank you, Scott. Therefore, I'll entertain a motion to pay estimate number 5 with regard to South 15th Street, Everybody Plays Inclusive Park and Playground Project. Dean Snyder Construction in the amount of $28,934.57. Motion, please. Moved by Mark, seconded by Mike, that we approve pay estimate number 5 to Dean Snyder Construction. Is there any discussion? All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye. Aye.
Opposed, same. Motion carries. 6B, Emerald Edge Subdivision Street Lighting Improvement Project update review of pay estimate number 1, which is the final payment by Jason Petersburg, engineer with Veenstra and Kim. Welcome, Jason.
Mayor, council, we've reported on this at the last couple of council meetings. All work is substantially complete on the project by K&W Electric. Project included 9 new streetlights foundations and then the associated wiring and control box. There was one change order on the project. That was a net deduct for the control panel. We were able to find something less expensive and more readily available for the controls on that. I discussed the status of the electric install out there in the Emerald Edge development with Alliant Energy today. Still looking like July, but they're having trouble finding a transformer for these streetlights, so they're looking into Plan B for being able to feed it from a different direction here. Final pay estimate in your packets is just for the retainage. Reminder, the final contract amount was $95,190. That was after the deduct of the $4,650 for the change order. The payment of $90,430.50 was previously approved, so this pay estimate is for the retainage only and for making acceptance of the improvements. So the retainage in the amount of $4,759.50 is recommended for payment after 31 days, and all punch list items are complete and the streetlights are operational. So somewhat pending Alliant Energy's schedule there, and the contractor's aware of that. So we are recommending approval of the pay estimate number 2, the final pay estimate, as well as the resolution making final acceptance.
And that's $4,759.50.
Yes.
Okay. Entertain a motion to approve pay estimate number 2 in the amount that I just said, $4,759.50 to K&W Electric, Cedar Falls, Iowa. Motion, please.
So moved.
Second.
Moved by Bennett, seconded by Gary, that we approve pay estimate number 2. Is there any discussion? All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same. Motion carries. And now I'll entertain a motion to approve Resolution 2327. This is a resolution accepting the work with regard to the Emerald Edge Subdivision Street Lighting Improvement Project. Motion, please.
So moved.
Second.
Moved by Dana, seconded by Mark, that we approve Resolution 2327. Is there any discussion? Roll call, Mark.
Yes.
Mike.
Yes.
Gary.
Yes.
Bennett.
Yes.
And Dana.
Yes.
Motion carries 5-0. Resolution 2327 is duly adopted. 6C, right-of-way vacation and sale, 1214 6th Avenue South. Review a request and recommendation from P&Z Commission. Mr. Flory.
Thank you, Mayor, Council. We'll just run through the items here in the packet. First here, the tan sheet there is ordinance number 877, an ordinance vacating certain undeveloped street right-of-way adjoining 1214 6th Avenue South and disposing of the city's interest therein by sale to the adjoining property owner. I will note that I prepared that ordinance under the assumption that the council would waive the statutory requirement to have 3 readings at separate council meetings and duly adopt this ordinance all here this evening. The next sheet that follows that, the orange sheet there, is a letter from the Planning and Zoning Commission chairperson, Mark Molly, indicating that the matter was taken up at their meeting, regular meeting on May 30th, and their recommendation is that the council approve the vacation and sale of this undeveloped alley right-of-way. The backside of that is the public notice that appeared in the newspaper indicating that tonight would be the time and the place for the public hearing on the proposal by the council to vacate this undeveloped right-of-way and dispose of its interest in it by sale to the adjoining property owner at 1214 6th Avenue South. The next sheet, again, is just an exhibit that we've used to identify the location of the property and give a legal description for it. On the back side of that is a sheet from Beacon, just again identifying the property owner and the location of the property and the area that's proposed to be vacated. Following that, just again, a sheet that identifies, this is circa 1911, identifying the area that's proposed for vacation is circled there in the red. It's a 47 and a half or so by 52 parcel, roughly about 2,400 square foot. That was previously identified as Rich Street. That's now South 13th Street. So that would be the dead end into that property north of 6th Avenue South, which was referenced here as Center Street. So just again, the way some background on this one, we were approached, of course, by the property owner and their person who's interested in buying the property. So they had gone through some legal work and was discovered that part of the home is actually built out into this undeveloped city right-of-way. So they approached the city about what steps would be necessary to dispose of our interest in that and vacate that by sale to them. So that is what started the whole process. At the May 15th council meeting, that's the date where we set the date for the public hearing on this for June 5th, your council meeting this evening, as well as directed the notice of public hearing to be put in the newspaper on May 25th, and directed this matter be referred to Planning and Zoning for their review and recommendation at their regular meeting on May 30th. So all of those things have taken place. As I mentioned earlier, this is roughly about 2,400 square foot parcel, roughly 52 by 47 in dimension. No public utilities or private utilities in the area. Would point out just by the size of it, it's not a buildable lot per the zoning district, the underlying zoning district. Sale price $1 square foot plus the actual out-of-pocket legal administrative costs such as recording and things like that. And it would be disposed of by quitclaim deed. So I don't have anything further prior to the public hearing. I did not receive any written communication prior to the public hearing, but happy to answer any questions on this one.
Council, any questions for Scott? Thank you, Scott. Now is the time and place for the public hearing with regard to the right-of-way vacation and sale at 1214 6th Avenue South. If there's anyone in the audience that wishes to speak to that particular vacation and sale, please approach the podium, state your name first and last, give your address so the clerk can properly enter in the minutes. Not appearing, I'll entertain a motion to close the public hearing.
So offered.
Moved by Mike, seconded by Dana, that we close the public hearing with regard to the right-of-way vacation and sale at 1214 6th Avenue South. Is there any discussion? All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same. Motion carries. Now I'll entertain a motion to approve ordinance number 877, an ordinance vacating certain undeveloped street right-of-way adjoining 1214 6th Avenue South and disposing of the city's interest therein by sale to the adjoining property owner. And this is on the first reading. Motion, please.
So moved. Second.
Moved by Dana, seconded by Gary, that we approve ordinance number 877 on the first reading. Is there any discussion? Roll call, Mike.
Yes.
Gary.
Yes.
Bennett.
Yes.
Dana.
Yes.
And Mark.
Yes.
Motion carries 5-0 on the first reading. And now I'll entertain a motion to suspend the rule requiring 3 separate readings and place ordinance number 877 on the third and final reading. Motion, please.
So moved.
Moved by Mark, seconded by Gary, that we approve ordinance number 877, that we suspend the rules requiring 3 separate readings and place ordinance number 877 on its third and final reading. Is there any discussion? Roll call, Gary.
Yes.
Bennett.
Yes.
Dana.
Yes.
Mark.
Yes.
And Mike.
Yes.
Motion carries 5-0, and the motion to suspend the rule requiring 3 separate readings is approved. And now I'll entertain a motion to approve ordinance number 877, an ordinance vacating certain undeveloped street right-of-way adjoining 1214 6th Avenue South and disposing of the city's interest therein by sale to the adjoining property owner. And this is the third and final reading of ordinance number 877. Motion, please.
So moved.
Second.
Moved by Dana, seconded by Mike, that we approve ordinance number 877 on the third and final reading. Is there any discussion? Roll call. Bennett,
Yes.
Dana,
Yes.
Mark,
Yes.
Mike,
Yes.
and Gary.
Yes.
Motion carries, and ordinance number 877 is duly adopted. Thank you. 6D, South Lakeview Drive Street Asphalt Overlay Leveler. Intro, Mr. Flory. Welcome again, Scott.
Thank you, Mayor, Council. Got a proposal from Heartland Asphalt there in your packet. Actually, kind of what got me thinking about this, I reached out to Jason Petersburg with Veenstra and Kim to get his assessment on this. So he's going to talk about the proposal in terms of the scope of work that would be completed on this. Is driving down the interstate and back. The DOT was kind of using something similar to like this technology, a leveler lift on some of that bad spalling or whatever it is that's on the interstate there. And so Jason and I went up and took a look at South Lakeview, essentially the area from where we had previously patched that's just kind of south of the Y intersection area there, down to about 25th Avenue South, which I would envision being, when we get to South Lakeview Drive reconstruction, that'll probably be the first leg of that piece that we do from 25th Avenue South to State Park, and try to time some of that with the new subdivision that will go in there as well. But you've got me thinking again about the condition of that surface. It's mostly the rideability of that street, and like I say, kind of riding down the interstate gives you the same kind of frustration. So asked him to join me. We went out there and looked at that street, and he kind of came up with this leveler concept that I think they've used in other places reasonably well. It's something that could probably give us a 5 to 7 year value out of the investment that we would be putting into it. And so reached out to Heartland Asphalt to get a proposal and try to capitalize on some of the economies of scale that we're going to have with our very large street resurfacing project to see if we could get some value there. Timing wise, doing these improvements along with that seemed to make a lot of sense. So we did negotiate with Heartland here for a proposal. I thought I'd at least bring it to you for your consideration to whether or not you want to proceed with it. Of course, entirely up to you. Initially, I thought about maybe we do a 3/4 inch overlay. I talked to Gary about it, and he thought probably an inch would be about where we wanted to go. So that we increased that a little bit based on him and I's conversation. But that's kind of what we're looking at, is just to furnish and install these asphalt leveler patches and overlay about a 1 inch nominal lift, with the intention trying to be to improve the rideability of that for about another 5 to 7 years from essentially where we stopped that last patch down to about 25th Avenue South. And if that first patch that we did there, I can't remember how many years ago that's been, but it's held up pretty well. So hopefully this would kind of give us a little bit similar value out in this area as well. So, and that's all I've got for an introduction, and Jason can talk about the actual scope of the improvements.
Any questions for Scott first?
Yeah. I'm not sure where this idea of even doing this overlay and patch came from. Can you enlighten me on that?
Yeah, that's, again, it's been a little bit rough area out there. You don't have to approve it if you don't want to. I thought I'd just give it out there for your consideration if you want to do it. If not.
Because if I'm not mistaken, we did not budget anything, and
No.
we've had no previous conversations about this,
That's correct.
at least at this dais.
Right. Yeah, and you don't have to
Yeah.
approve it.
No, I understand. I'm just trying to get my facts straight.
Yeah, it's like, so, if you want to do it, we'll amend the budget and do it and add it to the project. If you don't want to do it, we don't have to do it.
Okay.
But I'd rather bring it to you and present it to you than not. It doesn't cost anything to do the proposal. If you don't want to vote for it, don't vote for it.
Any other questions, comments for Scott?
Yeah, I'm having a hard time hugging this project myself. And did I read the proposal right? Is 3/4 inch aggregate in the mix? 3/8, excuse me.
He'll be up here shortly to talk.
Okay.
Anything else for Scott? Thank you, Scott. Review of proposal, Jason Petersburg, Veenstra and Kim, welcome Again, Jason?
Mayor, Council, so back in mid-April, Scott had reached out regarding the condition of South Lakeview and then the timing of a future South Lakeview Drive reconstruction project. I guess now it's somewhat unknown as far as when it's going to proceed, but more than likely the north end was going to be the latter phase, which is why the focus of this proposal was on the north end. We put together several options for this to improve the ride of the worst parts of this street. First option we looked at was some milling and filling patching, basically, of the really bad areas where there's pavement missing. That was from the north end of 26th Avenue South. Most of the patches were narrow, odd shaped. They were full 2 inches thick. And because of that, it drove the labor cost up. And I think the cost for that was $77,000 and change for that. So I guess that was denied, and they said, what else can you come up with? So I got together with Heartland. We explored several other options for trying to restore the rideability of this roadway. The option in your packets tonight is option number 6. So we've been through 5 other options, and this is where we're at with option 6. The scope of work includes pavement milling where needed, primarily at the ends, and then along the lake side of South Lakeview, where the asphalt is built up above the curb and gutter section, and we're not filling in the curb and gutter section. The overlay will be a 1-inch thick from the north end, or at the Y, to 25th Avenue South. And then there are just a few areas between 25th and 26th where we propose just some surface patching, no milling, put the tack coat, the asphalt binder down, and then cover it with a 3/8 mix and roll it down. The total estimated cost from Heartland for this scope is $46,978.60. This is a unit price contract. As proposed, the asphalt will be paid on a tonnage or on a weight basis. For a project like this, where it's going to be variable thickness, that's the only fair way for the city and the contractor to negotiate that. We inflated the asphalt quantity 25% because we do know there's going to be areas where the asphalt's going to be thicker than 1 inch. So we added that quantity in. Scope does not include adjusting any manhole castings. Many of them are already sticking up above the pavement, so with the 1-inch rise, a lot of them will actually fit a little better. Heartland indicated they anticipate the surface prep and milling operations would take about a day to complete here, and traffic would be maintained during that phase. And then the paving work, they estimate half a day. The street will need to be closed for that half a day, and the cool down time until the mat cools down enough. Schedule-wise, they were proposing to do it in July when they do the other street resurfacing project. The overall objective here is to allow the city to get another 5 to 7 years out of the north end of this street, and we feel this is the option that'll meet that objective as we continue to plan for the complete reconstruction of South Lakeview. Questions for me?
Questions for Jason, Council?
Yes, Jason, I've got a question. So in terms of cost efficiencies, isn't this a pretty effective way to do this, given the overlay project we've got going?
I believe so, and by going with just a thinner overlay, I think it's brought some of the labor costs down. You know, we're going to end up with more tonnage, but it's going to be a better finished product in the end because it's the full width of the street.
Exactly. And as the pictures show that you provided, it's got a lot of deterioration in certain places. So tell me this, if we don't do anything, how's this going to look in a few years?
Worse than it does now.
Yeah.
It's just going to continue to deteriorate, and
Yeah.
we all know every winter's different, and the winters are hard on our pavements. So
Yeah.
that would be try and get it sealed up again and extend the life of what you have there.
Exactly. Well, I think it's a very good project, and I do appreciate former Councilman Terry Unsworth being here tonight, and I think he's expressed some concerns in the past about the rideability of this street, so I appreciate you being here, Terry. And I think it's a good project, it's a cost-efficient way of doing this, and I think it just makes a lot of sense. So, thank you.
Anyone else?
Yeah. And it's probably not a question directly for Jason, but maybe Scott. We're talking 5 to 7 years. So if this is done, we're kicking that project down the road for at least 5 to 7 years.
You mean this portion?
The complete rebuild of this South Lakeview Drive. I mean, we've been talking about this for at least 5 years that I can think of,
Yeah.
including some engineering on extending the water main south of State Park and things like that. So, I mean, this isn't a brand-new, just dreamed-up project, but it just seems to be sitting on a shelf, and what I'm hearing here is this would be a patch that would probably guarantee that it's going to happen many years later.
So of course, I don't think we were ever envisioning doing the entire length of South Lakeview in one setting, and we've always talked about phasing it in like we did with Main Avenue, and we've talked about doing the south end. Obviously, access to properties, we're going to tackle it the exact same way that we're going to tackle Main Avenue. So the first phase was really always going to be that 25th to State Park, which I think we're probably well on the way to getting something going with that. I think you pretty well have your preliminary engineering work mostly completed for that. So that's definitely something going to happen. But much like Main Avenue, I'm trying to think, we probably have 8-9 years in that entire rebuild.
At least.
No, we
Yeah,
don't.
About 8. That's what he's,
Around 8.
Yeah.
I've
Riz.
sat through all of it, so.
Yeah, so at least in this, in comparison to length, is probably as long or maybe even a little longer. So and we're looking at, I think we have about 8 million wrapped up into East Main. So I don't think we were ever talking about rebuilding South Lakeview Drive all in one shot.
Well, that would be very complicated because you can't shut it all down. There's no side access, and I understand that. I guess what I'm looking for is the concept of at least launching the project, and that seems to have and I understand it wasn't really going to happen until Main Avenue was done.
Right.
That was a big ask and a big project in multiple years. I pretty much ride that thing on my bike several times a week, and yeah, it's rough, but it isn't just rough from the Y to 25th Street. It's rough from 25th to 26th Street too, and it gets even rougher as you head down from 25th to the State Park because there's been so much recent construction.
But I think the point,
Carry on.
You'll get your chance. The point I'm trying to make here is this just a waste of money? I mean, the thing is navigable right now. I can get up and down on my bike there quite easily. I mean, and there are patches, and there's some rough areas. I noticed a couple of the photos are the rough areas over by the curb, and nobody drives over there, and nobody rides over there. And there isn't a lot of deterioration in the middle of the road. It's spider webbed, but most of it isn't coming apart yet from what I could see. And I looked at it very carefully several times in the last week. I guess I'm struggling with, are we actually maybe going to launch the project within a year or two on the south end?
Oh, I think definitely that's the plan. I mean, I think it's kind of always been our hope to do that, but again, with the East Main project, there's just, it got pushed a little further down. But
yeah.
I do think the alligatoring that you're seeing, and I think that was at one time in the area now where you mentioned it's kind of broken up. I think that was alligator before, and it's kind of the surface is delaminated and given away, and I think that's going to continue to get worse and worse.
Yeah.
So I think if we're looking at not doing something, it's probably going to be like another year, and that you're going to see what's happening at the curb probably more out into the center area.
Well, yeah, I guess if we were going to do it, I'm almost inclined to do it a little farther up the road, maybe to 26th Street. And if you're saying that we're going to ultimately tie into the end between the state park and 26th, maybe it wouldn't make sense to do it there, but I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, you could definitely do that extra block. I think that could be something when we look and plan out the first phase. Maybe that's going to be 26th Avenue South to State Park, and then maybe 25th to 26th would have to be a separate phase, again, because of some of the access to the properties. But I could see that going both ways. If we did go to 26th, then I'd probably be more inclined to try to get a little more value out of the patchwork that we're doing, but it wouldn't be that much of a loss, I guess, to tear that up.
Done.
Anyone else wish to speak to this?
I have a tendency to agree with Mike. Like I said earlier, I can't get a warm feeling about this. Why can't we just take care of the edges, mill them and patch them back in?
We did price that, and it was more expensive than doing it all because of the labor. That was the first option we went after, and that was $75,500. The edges and then some of the bad spots. And then that's when we started looking at other options, where we went with a thinner overlay.
How much did we spend on patching first we went up and patched there? Can you remember?
It's been 5 years ago.
Was it that long ago?
We've had two major patches there since I've been on the council, and yeah, I mean, I guess I'm just wondering if we're going to get the value we want out of this patch if we do indeed get launched on this project. And I understand it's going to be year by year, but so I don't know.
I also agree. I just soon hold off. I don't think it's necessary right now. Worst part's the edges.
Anyone else? Are you done?
No, I'm not.
Carry on.
Thank you. Now I forgot what I was going to say, Mr. I guess I'm done.
All right, well, I'll jump in. I'm going to respectfully disagree with my colleagues on that. I think it's an excellent idea. I think the reason we don't want to come further down, as Scott pointed out, is because that's the end we're going to start the reconstruction on. So we don't need as much there, okay? But doing this in phases means that the other end will not be done for several years and will continue to deteriorate. So again, I would point out, highly cost-effective to do this at the same time we're doing this other project, and I would encourage my colleagues to support it. Thank you, Mayor.
Anyone else wish to speak on this? Or questions for Jason to begin with?
Jason, I got a question. What would be your professional opinion, knowing that it's going to be at least 3, 4, 5 years before we really get into the meat of that project?
It needs something to improve the ride. And that's why we went through the options we did, trying to get it as thin as we could to get the cost down, yet get something that's going to last 5 to 7 years. And that's where we ended up with this option 6, being what we felt was the best value that's actually going to hold together for that time frame. It's going to smooth it out and take care of at least the north end of this street.
Do you feel like knowing what you know about the project, do you feel like we're 5 to 7 years out before if we start the south side, that's going to be quicker?
It all depends on how we phase it. As far as the summer season goes, the 4th of July, when are we going to let them start construction, stop construction? I mean, the final design isn't done. We've done some preliminary engineering on it, so it's a ways out to start. And if we break it into smaller segments, yeah, it's probably at least 5 years out in this portion of it.
And Scott, we've been budgeting for this street for some time, haven't we?
Yep, for some time, yep.
And so we've got some in the budget, not
Yep.
nearly what we need,
Right.
but
Well, and like I say, when we did I don't know that we wouldn't have been here sooner, but for East Main, we're eligible for a pretty substantial DOT grant on that one, and that kind of bumped that one ahead, which we're not going to be eligible for on anything like this, of course.
yeah.
Excuse me. You said we had some preliminary design, Jason.
Yes, primarily it's been sanitary sewer work so far down there as far as figuring out which homes are connected to which main, because there's multiple sewer mains in there.
Refresh my memory. When did we sign a contract with you?
At least 2 years ago.
At least, yeah.
Have to look it
And
up.
so
but
we're not even ready for anything at all right now.
It's kind of stalled because there was nothing in the budget and not proceeding, so.
Maybe it's time we get the first phase design, gentlemen.
Well, I think we're moving that way, but again, back to the East Main, that was a $3 million project.
Keep in mind, I think we need to look back at the amount of time that we've spent on this already, and it's not just the sewer part. We've even looked at the water tower issue and coming down the middle for that, and there's been some discussion. I think this is a long ways away with regard to the people on the other side of the park. Are we going to, is there a way to work in with the county on all this? There are a lot of issues here that still have yet to be overturned or underturned or whatever the word might be here. It's not just this. This would be obviously quite temporary, 1 inch. If in fact it would last 5 to 7 years, that's interesting. But, that may occur, but with all the winter activity that we have in this area, gosh only knows what that will be. So this is truly temporary.
Yep.
And if we're looking at it from 25th to the north end, that's quite a long ways. Is that enough? I guess that may be the question. But by the same token, if we're still in the discussion of the reconstruction, I guess is the correct word for that whole area from down to the state park, which is a mess right now. It's not good at all.
What's different with this as opposed to 12th Avenue South? How many inches did we put on 12th Avenue South?
12th Avenue South was 2 inch. I believe that was a 2-inch project.
That's what I thought, yeah.
On a rock base.
Yeah, that was
This
not
one
asked.
has
Asphalt base.
pavement
Okay,
underneath it
all
to
right, or
support
pavement base. All right, that, just trying to educate myself here.
Good question.
Because obviously 12th Avenue South has not, held up.
And that's primarily drainage related there, where we have drainage on Lakeview.
Okay. Any other questions, Council?
Are we going to talk about doing the whole street or just as proposed?
Just as proposed, from
Okay.
20, just as in the paper that you have in
Yep.
front of you under the proposal contract,
Okay.
which is 1-inch asphalt overlay on South Lakeview from 25th Avenue South to the north end for a total of 4,235 square yards. Correct?
Correct.
Okay. That's what we have on the proposal. Any other questions? Thanks, Jason. Appreciate your time. All right, therefore, in the motion to approve the proposal that we have in front of us, I'll entertain a motion to approve the 1-inch asphalt leveler / overlay on South Lakeview Drive from 25th Avenue South to the north end, a total of 4,235 square yards to Heartland Asphalt, Mason City, Iowa, in the amount of $46,978.60. Motion, please.
So moved.
Second.
Moved by Dana, seconded by Bennett, that we approve the proposal as just read in the amount of $46,978.60. Is there any further discussion?
Just a brief comment. I'm inclined to vote no on the current proposal simply because everything I heard here this evening suggests it's going to be quite a ways down the road, and the whole thing is in rough shape. The whole doggone road is in rough shape. And if we're trying to improve the ride on this much of it, maybe we should do the whole thing and then fix as needed. So anyway, just for the good of the order, it's my thought.
Thank you. Any other discussion? I'm going to do a roll call, council. Dana?
Yes.
Mark? Yes. Mike?
No.
Gary?
No.
Bennett?
Yes.
Motion carries 3-2. And the proposal to Heartland Asphalt at $46,978.60 is approved. Move to interim chief of police report. Welcome, interim chief Colby.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. I got a couple things to talk to you about. One thing I wanted to bring up is from last month. It is some information the council may or may not be aware of. Is just over a year and a half ago, the city received 6 AEDs from the Iowa Department of Public Health for free on a grant. The Department of Public Health provided those to us on a condition that they're in our patrol cars. They were immensely far superior technology than the old ones we had. They connect to the car's Wi-Fi systems, and then if they're used, they download directly to the Department of Public Health. You can transmit the information for a patient to the hospital and some other technology things there. Last month, the Department of Public Health sent us some information that they issued, of those AEDs issued, they had 484 deployments last year throughout the state, with over 100 saves from those. So a couple of those were here in Clear Lake too. We're waiting for them to send our individual agency reports too, but I just wanted to reach out, if anyone from the Department of Public Health is listening, that we thank that for them, and because of that information they provided us, we talked in April about them being deployed over on East Lake Street. One of our officers was off duty and found somebody that was unconscious and had a save there too, so I want to bring that up. Also, last month, I was elected to be the chairman of the North Central Iowa Narcotics Task Force. So that's our task force here. It's a 9-county region here. This position formerly held by Chief Roth. So when he resigned, they had asked me to take over that as the chairman. So I've accepted that. So we have 4 meetings a year for the task force, the chiefs and sheriffs. Then we have monthly intel meetings with our task force officers, which Investigator Lopez is assigned for Clear Lake. And then also is involved with the area special operations group, so I'll oversee basically our SWAT team for the 9-county area here and the investigators there. We talk a lot about training, so also of training I wanted to talk about that we had in this last month of May was we sent 2 lieutenants, Lieutenant Rigg and Lieutenant Goody, to our crisis intervention team training. That's 40 hours. So they're both CIT trained officers now, and that's something we look forward to sending our entire department to at some point. The training was free, no cost to the department or the city, and they also covered meals and everything for the officers at that training. We talked last time about the try. We're on the back side of the try. I think we had some very good feedback from some residents in the area that it was the best try yet. Heard that from the chamber as well, and so for all those that were involved in volunteering and planning on the try, we had a lot of kudos given to us. I had some residents actually talk to me over on our North Lakeview about how they really appreciate how we did the traffic control and parking over there. And they even brought up how we've changed out on the 4th of July the last year with the parking permits and changing some of those roads to one way, and that they saw a noticeable increase in the easeability of them getting in and out, and lack of congestion through those events too. So that leads me into the next thing, the 4th of July. We're knee deep in planning that. We have some meetings coming up with the chamber next week and with some other members of the city this week for the 4th of July. So we're looking forward to that, and hopefully we can have the same accolades presented to us after the 4th of July with the planning that we did on the triathlon. So as we've talked many times, planning in advance makes it much better on the back end too. So I have 3 more things for you and I'll get out of here. I won't hold you up too much longer. We've been working on a project with FEMA and the emergency management for our replacement of our sirens across the entire county. That grant was just signed by FEMA, I think it was last week, so that was the last cog in the wheel to get those sent. They have told us that the funding is there, but it'll be probably mid-August before the equipment is actually available to be sent here and installed too. So hopefully sometime in August I'll have an informational update for you on when those will actually be here, when they'll be installed and be up and running. So I would assume that it'll probably be September, October before they can get all those installed. And then we are still accepting applications for the police officer position when Matt Berry left us. And then we have closed and ended our search for a dispatcher when we had an opening when Whitney Hill left us, and we have a conditional offer out to somebody as well for that too. So with those two processes coming to a close here for too long, we should be up to full staff in time for summer and able to move on. Other than the updated stats are in your packets there, I believe. I know there's a lot of information pretty quick, but is there any questions on those items or with the stats there we provided to you that I could answer for you?
Council, any questions?
Mike, I got a quick question.
Yes, sir.
Where the Northland Glass used to be?
Yes, sir.
And also those storage units, those are all down now.
Mhm.
I went by the other day and that was just full of cars. Is that going to be possible to park cars and RVs there through the summer?
So we've had some conversation with the chamber. I know I've talked to Trish, and she's out of town right now, but she was making some phone calls to the owner of that property to see if we could use that space. And I have not heard an official word back from her, not yes or no. It is private property too, so we would need permission from them to do that. So, but yes, we've noticed that. No, that's an asset we potentially could use that we're looking at.
Yeah, it was totally packed the other day when I went by and I thought, ooh, we need parking.
Not sure what was going on, that all the cars would be there, but.
Well, I think it was last weekend.
It's just busy uptown.
Yeah. Oh, was it Thursdays on Main? Thursdays
Oh.
on Main.
That's
Oh, yeah, Thursdays
Oh,
on Main,
that
everything
would
was
explain
packed.
it.
Yeah.
So, yeah, we have had some conversation with the landowner and their, specifically about the 4th of July, and they've expressed their willingness to work with us for, like, putting some trailers and stuff like that over there, so, yeah.
How, information on our CSI officer?
CSO, yeah.
Oh,
Paul Chizik did start. He's been very busy. He was off today, but he and I have met last week, and we'll meet again this week. We're still kind of sorting through some equipment he'll need. We've saved some money back in our operating line there to buy some of that stuff so he can be a little more functional, but we've taken some consideration for some properties that the council's given us and some other people throughout the community, and Paul's being very busy getting trained up. He's about done with his field training packet that we put together, which consists of policies and all of our methods and the way we do things, which he was already fairly familiar with from his time as lieutenant here. Had some changes since he'd been retired for about 2 years, but he's been very successful. I'm sure maybe some of you have seen the truck parked over there out and around in town, and we'll modify that a little bit with some equipment in there. But you know, Paul's keeping busy. He's a worker. He understands it. He understands the work. He understands the philosophy of Clear Lake. And I tell you, he was just as excited to come back to work for the city as probably all of us at the department was to have him back too. So he's been on for 2 weeks, but in that first 2 weeks, I'd say it's been immense success. And we're looking forward to going forward and seeing what else we can do and throughout the summer.
that's good news, good news. Any public feedback on that yet? Too soon, I suppose.
You know, that's not true. I actually, he was at church in the park on Sunday, and I had somebody say that they saw him walking around, thought it was great that he was there. And we've had a couple other little comments here and there too. I was hoping his uniforms would be in before he started, but they're just like everything else backward. Takes time to get there too. But I contacted our vendor last week, and they said they should ship out Friday, so hopefully they come in today. Well, they're not here today, but sometime this week too. So just getting a little more official look there too. But yeah, the feedback I have had has been positive.
So another question or statement, the parking pattern plan for 4th of July is in process?
Yeah, so we every year on all of our, well, any event we do, but all of our big events, we keep a running log of what worked for us that year and what didn't work, and things we may look at changing too. And with the changing of the building coming down, having some additional resources there, and just some other things, how we'll tweak some things with our permitting process, which Paul will be in, will manage. We're going to look at that and see if we can tweak some things there to make things a little more user-friendly and just to make the ingress and egress a little better out of the area. I think there's some areas that we'll probably left open for short-term parking last year. We'll probably close down this year because it became more of a headache having people not really understanding where they can and can't park. And so we'll have some modifications here this year, but nothing major that will affect or the accessibility to the park. If not, make it better though.
Good. Anything else, Council?
Yeah, Mike, I You said you were down Sunday, down by for the services?
Yeah.
I had a couple of people concerned about, evidently, I went down there. Traffic was a little congested later during the day or sometime during the day. They were a little concerned. They saw, kids running around. Somebody, could get hurt. I'm just saying,
Yeah,
that's the
so-
concern of the citizens.
And that's why Paul was up there, with some of the parking stuff. It's Sunday mornings kind of tend to be, and it was really a nice weekend for June. I mean, there was
Yeah, it
low
was.
wind. It was, what you dream of for Clear Lake in the summer. Everybody took advantage of that. And two, there were a lot of boats coming in and out. And there was the church attendance in the park was above normal. I think it was over 1,000 people there in the park. So I think if you look at those numbers, those people get there somehow and they got to park somewhere. And it just was congested, which I think is a good thing if it's managed. But we're fully aware of the potential for a pedestrian versus vehicle incident up there. And I'll tell you, some of the new officers we hired in the last year are very proactive, not just in enforcement, but go up there and hang out. Two of our officers go up there almost on a daily basis and walk through the park and walk along the seawall and do that just because they like being out of the car and talking to people and do those things. That's something that we look as a benefit here, just the visibility there, and having them up there this summer will also help some of those issues too. So even just being a presence, being
Well,
visible.
Hopefully we can take care of that once RDG comes back with our comprehensive plan. That was part of it, wasn't it, Scott?
Yeah, I mean, I think congestion, when you get that many people in there,
Yeah.
you're going to have congestion.
Yeah, I mean, 1,000 people, if you put 2 people per car, that's 500 cars.
We certainly don't want to see anybody hurt, that's
Right.
for sure.
The congestion is it slows the traffic down. So, people are going, it's $25 speed limit, but nobody's driving 25 through there on Sunday for sure.
Which, never mind, reminded me of something else, but I'm done.
Anything else? Thanks, good report.
Thank you.
I appreciate it. Public Works Director's Report, Jeremy Kornberg. Welcome, Jeremy.
Thank you, Mayor, Council. Update on East Main and reconstruction bike lane project is pretty much complete. So I think we'll have to meet up and put together a punch list, but the way it looks is there's not going to be a whole lot on there. Sod was laid. We've been watering daily, even through the weekends and even on the holidays. So we're putting out with the water truck anywhere from 10 to 12,000 gallons of water on that daily. I guess at this point, I would recommend the homeowners that do live on that stretch is that any watering they can do as well is going to help. Obviously, our watering is good, but it's just a individual soaker, one time a day. So that would obviously help. And then I've had a conversation with a few about mowing, and again, we're just suggesting just to raise those mowers up, that 4.5-inch range. Keep it high, keep it wet throughout the summer. Obviously, we're kind of in the middle of a drought already. So any watering they can do to help is going to be great. But I've checked some spots and it's taking pretty well. I mean, roots you can't pull it up. Obviously, the edges are in some areas a little brown, but we've had some areas that were brown and they're already come back. So we'll just continue to water from now until, I don't know, hopefully we get some rain and whatnot, but we'll water daily until after the 4th and see how it goes and continue. So I think we only have one street sign to put back up, and that was waiting for 8th to kind of get done, so we have one left to put there. Street lights, everything else is operational, I believe, so we're all good. Other update is the overlay project. All the PCC work is complete. All the traffic control in those areas have been removed, and then we've put some cones out in some areas where the grade changes were pretty significant for the new curb and gutter, just as a kind of a guidance to keep cars off of those. And then a pre-con for the overlay is actually Wednesday. Obviously the overlay won't start until after the 4th sometime, so, but we're moving in the right direction there. Other than that, just general maintenance, sweeping, getting everything ready. I know there's been a lot of questions about mosquitoes, so if everything goes smooth, we will plan to spray this week. Just got to have the right winds and temperatures and everything, so should be good to there. And then, yeah, hopefully take care of that a little bit. So, Any questions?
Questions, comments, council?
Yeah, Jeremy, when is the pre-con meeting for the overlay project?
Wednesday.
Wednesday, 11 o'clock.
At 11?
11 o'clock Wednesday here.
Here? Okay, thank you.
I got one thing to share. I had a friend in town over the weekend, and where Highway 18 goes east and west, the two lanes that are going towards the football field, that would be right before you get across the railroad tracks.
Sure.
We were having some s'mores last night about midnight at the state park, and he said the signage there is not very good and there's not proper signs. And so I said, I'll go check it out, which I have not, but I'll share it with you because I know you'll go check it out.
Sure.
What-
So
And
was he heading south or north? Which,
He was heading north towards the football field,
okay.
and
What signs?
well, he said there's hardly any signs, and so you can go straight on the left lane, turn left or go straight.
Yep.
And then the right lane, you have to take a right. And he said most other towns, he's from Cedar Rapids, it's not normally like that. But because he wasn't sure what to do, he was a little confused, there's not proper signage. And so, I don't know. I've never thought twice about it because I've lived here for years. I know to go straight in the left, turn in the right.
Yeah, I'll have
but
to
he
take a
said it's
look.
not-
I know going south, we have signage. Going north, I know we have the pavement markings and
We don't have anything on the mast arms? Any placards up
on
there?
the masters.
Okay.
Actually, I have the signs ordered and they're in the shop for that. We just have not gotten it put
I
up.
was
I know
thinking
we
we
just
had
added them
talked
the
about that,
20th, just a month ago, and we just haven't had time to get that set up. So, we will have signs on the masts here soon.
I reassured him that the arrows have just been repainted. I said, all you gotta do is look down, and he said the arrows are not easy to see either.
The
I
arrows
said,
might
well-
not have been done yet. I know we got
Okay.
everything else painted, but the arrows are usually about the last thing because it takes some time, a lot of paint. But I do believe we also have a roadway sign on the side of 8th, kind of by the quick shop or back a little ways that states the lane directions. But to reassure, we do have the signs ordered for the mass, and we are going to be putting those out, so.
Thank you.
Do we have any kind of signs that we could put up at the 20th Street Railroad crossing? Especially if you're coming from the north heading south. I mean, if you've got a small car, you might not have that small car anymore if you don't slow way down. That's got to be the roughest thing in town. And I know the railroad isn't going to do anything. I'm not naive enough to think that's going to happen. But if we have a warning rough crossing or something we could put up, skull and crossbones, I don't know, just
Might have some bump signs.
bump sign.
I'll have to look at
Bump sign would be good. I mean, most of the locals have figured it out, but it can't be a fun experience for anybody from out of town that's thinking, boy, I'm just going to cruise right through here because it's non-cruisable.
Sure. I'll have to look through the MUTCD manual and see what's allowed and not in a railroad crossing setting, but might be something I can get put up there, so.
And really both ways.
Yeah.
It's rough.
Yeah.
I do 3 mornings a week at 6 a.m. and, you slow down for sure. Good job, tell your guys on the moving of the signs and so on for the various events that we have. I think our interim chief would agree with that too, that, they're right on the ball with those. And,
Yeah, the try is pretty extensive. Obviously, it takes almost everything we have in our warehouse
Right.
shop. We actually been rebuilding and building new stick barricades. I think we're kind of building 15 or 20 of those just a year just to get new ones. A lot of the old ones are beat up and breaking. They've been around for a lot of years, so yeah, just kind of replenishing that.
especially for that try, I mean, they were all over the place. Well done. Oh, well done.
Thank you.
Anything else, council?
Yeah, I have one thing, Scott, you and I have talked about it, and as long as Jason's here and Jeremy, facade on Main Street. Is this gonna be able to withstand 4th of July traffic with parade?
I think by that time, yeah. It's similar to the
I
last.
know we have an ordinance in place of when they can,
Yeah, as long as they don't cover it up early, I think we're gonna be fine. I think it's similar to the last phase of Maine. It turned out fine. Like I said, I've walked at some spots after they've been watering, and when you pull up on it, it's rooting in most areas. Again, it would be a something to tell homeowners is that mow it high and keep it wet.
Well,
Water it right before the 4th, that way you don't have as many people
there's
sitting
really
in it.
no
I don't
room
know.
for them to put blankets down.
Yeah,
anyway.
and we'll put out like in the newsletter, that reminder on that too before the 4th, yep.
With the dry conditions we have.
Yeah,
It's
as I
very
mean,
dry.
keeping it wet, keeping it is gonna be probably key, so.
So it's got stabilization by then, you know.
Trees are in, aren't they? The trees, new trees?
Yep, oh yeah, trees are in, trees have all been planted and mulched, so obviously we just water those as we go by and with everything else, so.
Mm. Beautiful, beautiful street.
I think they got all the
Full street.
wellness center trees at the same time, so we're, yeah.
It's great. Hey, thanks, Jeremy. Appreciate it. Director of Finance, Administrative Service Report, Creighton Schmidt. Welcome, Creighton.
Thank you, Mayor and Council. I think to the untrained eye tonight, it looked like there was a lot of impassioned speech and everything about South Lakeview, about the police, about Public Works, but I know this was all a delay tactic for my announcement tonight. And I appreciate it. I'm very flattered.
I might walk out.
I've had discussions with all of you recently, but to make it public, I have accepted a job with Marriott International, working for their corporate headquarters, working for a remote position. Of course, Marriott is a company that I worked for before coming to the city and worked there for 11 years, started in college, and up until my time here, worked with Marriott. This was an opportunity that was a very good opportunity, too hard to pass up, even though it was very difficult. Scott, you know, it's very difficult. We had lots of conversations about it. A lot of you know it's very difficult for me because I've loved doing everything I've done here. I've loved all the people I've worked with, loved all the projects I've been a part of. Extremely grateful for the opportunity. And that being said, I am open to helping out on a part-time basis, at least for the transitional period, and then we'll see where that goes from there. I want to continue to be involved in all the projects that I've already been involved with. I think Scott's talking about the surf district tonight. I can't imagine not being involved in that project. I also can't imagine not continuing to work with the folks in the city. So I am looking forward to doing that in the future. It's so funny, I think when I applied to this job, when I was putting in the application, I think I just sent a resume cover letter, something like that. Ashley says, "What are you doing? Clear Lake, Iowa." We lived in bigger cities. At the time, we were in the DC area. And she said, "We're not going to end up there, are we?" And I think it was about no longer than 5 seconds after I submitted it, I got a response from Scott. And Ashley knows I appreciate that immensely when someone gets back to you right away. And then so she was worried. She's like, "Oh no, I think he's going to want you there." And so we went through the process, and I remember coming here and just falling in love with the community. Of course, going out on the lake was big. Meeting all of you was big. Meeting the staff, driving by the football field, those sort of things that had just been redone when I got here. Seeing the big lion emblem on the side there, all those things were important for me and important for where I am going to still be raising my family. And over the last 3 years, almost 3 years now, we've just fell in love with the community. So my wife was telling me the other day, she saw something on Instagram about somebody else who had moved to a small town, and they had a shirt now that says, "I loved my small town." And that's how she feels now. And especially coming from DC area and that sort of thing, this is a very small town to us. But she said, "I love our small town. We want to raise our kids here." So any other opportunity, it'd be easy to say no, but coming from a company that I had worked for, that I'm passionate about, they're giving me the opportunity to work remotely, which will also give me the opportunity to continue to serve the city, just worked out, and it's something that I want to go for. So I thank all of you for giving me this wonderful opportunity. Scott, thank you for replying in 5 seconds. It worked out. And thank all of you for working with me over the last few years, and I look forward to continuing to do that in however we see fit moving forward.
we're going to miss you. I don't care if you live 2 blocks away or wherever, we will miss you. That office is a very positive place to be every day, day in, day out. And either I see it or I hear it or I just sense that things are going well. After a while, you get a sense of what's happening in your own local environment, so to speak, right there. But you're remarkable working in with our community to the point of where you've only been here a short time, and bingo, you're the Noon Lions president. And doing a wonderful, wonderful job. And those men all do appreciate your being there. But I will certainly miss you coming in and coming out on your own, and just, you know, the dewdrop-in atmosphere is very, very unique, and I think very healthy. And I'm sure the rest of our office would say the same thing. But yes, you will be missed. You have an expertise that very few people can match. Part of that is your personality, and that's what I like to focus on. And that, for me, has made a big, big plus. You fit in this community. Better yet, you fit in our city. And you will be here. We will be able to contact you on a social basis. And I'm sure if there's some business activity that we need, we're going to contact you anyway, whether we pay you for it or not. But we'll miss you. You'll be around, and wish you well. Anyone else?
Creighton, I got a question. How do we find another Creighton?
We will see. But I know recently we hired a part-time accounting manager. Travis, I went to school with him. He has the same educational background that I do, almost exactly the same. Accounting, went to school for accounting at Iowa, later went back for his MBA. He's from the Lake Mills area. He is someone who I respect. He is very knowledgeable. I think he has some interest in the position. I would love to see it go that route. So hopefully I've already found that Creighton for you, but if not, then we'll start the search process from there.
Creighton, I just want to take this opportunity to thank you for all your contributions to our city and community in the role you've had. It's just been fantastic, and so I'm happy for you with the new opportunity that you have moving forward with Marriott. And I just, again, deeply appreciate everything you've done and how you fit in as part of our leadership team. And frankly, I'll look forward to continue to work with you and to see you continue to contribute to our community, and I think that will be a very positive process. So very excited you and your family are staying in Clear Lake. Let's put it that way.
Sounds good.
Thank you.
Any other comments, council? Thank you.
This is your last meeting then, correct?
This is
Right,
my
Mr.
last
Mayor?
meeting. Yep.
Can we prolong this meeting a little longer?
The pool's ready to go. We got new furniture downtown.
I'm shocked that that came out of your mouth. Thanks, Creighton.
Thank you.
Under Mayor's report, had a great opportunity these last Thursday and Friday to go along with several of our staff and community people to go to Sioux City to the Iowa Historical Preservation Summit. I think I got most of that right.
Close, yeah.
Beth Ann went along, Stacy went along. There was Michelle,
Cunliffe.
never get that out, Cunliffe, and Scottney Fenton from RDG that was there. Well, we stayed in the Warrior Hotel, which is a Marriott autograph. Very, very nice hotel. We wanted to take a look at that since we seem to be in looking at hotel situations and examples at this point in time. But we were there to present and to talk about the, our National Historic Registry spot. I think I put all that together right with regard to our seawall that this community has fallen in love with, really, to personify everything. You know, you see people down there just sitting there eating their lunch. Sometimes they're just sitting and staring at the lake for what seems like hours. In the wintertime, in the fall, in the spring, in the summertime. Young people go there for all kinds of pictures, class pictures, graduation pictures, marriage pictures. People go to picnic, to sit on the wall, to walk on the wall, you know, unbelievable. They called it down there and advertised, or over at Sioux City, as the lake wall. And Scott and others in the presentation, we were in a panel, indicated that nobody really knows where the word seawall came from, other than in the minutes of a meeting back in 1937, I do believe, and somebody on the council called it the seawall, and there afterwards, I think it went from lake wall to seawall, and that's what we all know it as, even though a sea is 1,500 miles on either side of us. But so be it. But it was a wonderful presentation. There were probably 25 people there, maybe in the audience. All of these people I just mentioned spoke very well. Beth Ann did very well. From the chamber, Stacy did well. The two people from RDG just praised the cooperation that they got, not only from us, but from TNK, is it?
TNT.
TNT, the group from
Cascade? Is it Cascade? Brooklyn?
No, God, I never remember. It's over there around Dubuque. But they not Saratoga, but anyway, they did a wonderful job, and we said, you know, to begin with, we weren't going to do the whole thing thoroughly, and then you folks up here then approved the fact that let's go 100% on it. We're still under, I think, the $250,000 budget, so we did it, and guy, now it's on the National Historic Registry. So, you know, wonderful, wonderful project that we had done, and has made this type of history for our community. I think now in our community, it's number 6, 7 that are on that registry. Like there's homes, et cetera, that are on there. So those of us who went felt very proud to be there. It was quite a time to showcase our seawall, but our community as well. And I think many people did mention the community. Oh, you people have such a wonderful community. You know, we've been there. We asked them to raise their hands, or Scott did, who have been there. And boy, up went I suppose 7/8 of the people that were there. Add to it, Scott.
Well, I was just going to say, you pretty well covered everything there, Mayor, that you know, we did even have the director of the Department of Cultural Affairs in on our session, and you know, prior to the pandemic, when we had the Secretary of the Department of Interior here touring the Surf Ballroom, she was here escorting the group around, and she came up to us afterwards. We had a nice conversation with her. It's always kind of good when you do these things. You never know. When Data mentioned all the park, I had no idea what he was talking about. Well, of course, we were in Sioux City at the time for that. So you never know. It took us out of the office for pretty much a day and a half, you know, but when you can intermingle with people like that, that's important. And you never know when that's going to pay dividend down the road. And she had indicated to me that the project, they're keeping a close eye on our Surf District project. And again, with the Director of the Department of Economic Development, their comments are, we really like your project. And, you know, I just think that speaks volumes about what we're doing and the steps that we're going in all those areas. And you know, we in Sioux City, they have the obelisk. I forget the name of the person died on
Sergeant Floyd.
Floyd. You couldn't come up with it, but that was the very first structure that was placed on the National Register of Historic Place National Landmark list, and Sioux City has 3 National Historic Landmarks, and you know, we have 1, which in Iowa there are 27, and so we're blessed and fortunate to have one of those. So I thought it was a really good turnout for our presentation, and good feedback and questions, and, you know, I think, again, talking about I think we really, as a panel, Mayor gave a nice introduction. I talked about the community and kind of the process, and Beth Ann spoke about the history and sort of legal context of the seawall, and Michelle spoke about the nomination process, which, again, I think people there understood that was no walk in the park. That was a difficult process, and there were many applications that went through very smoothly. Ours did not. You know, it took some effort, and, you know, but we did get through it and did get approved for the nomination, and so we're on the list, and it was a good time.
Reminded by our state, who was the lady that came up at the end from the cultural.
Yep, Chris Kramer, the director.
Yeah, and she mentioned in order for our surf to get to be a landmark, it had to be recommended by the Secretary of the Department of Interior.
Mm-hmm.
And remembering when he was there at that time, he certainly complimented, once again, not only on that place, but the community as well. And to have Secretary of Interior to come to nominate us to become a landmark truly was quite significant.
Yeah.
And it was a good day, and a good day for the city of Clear Lake, I felt, as well. So thanks, Scott. Anything else, Scott?
I was going to say, if you would like, we could push this off to the next meeting. It's about a 45-minute to an hour presentation. I raced through it.
No, let's do it.
Okay, I raced through it at Rotary, and it was an hour. So it's up to you guys. We're pretty late.
Would you rather wait?
Do you want to see this, Creighton?
He saw it. He's seen it 2 or 3 times.
I make a motion.
I
we
leave the
adjourn.
head nod show. We'll wait till.
All right, sounds good.
Unless it's something critical at this point.
Nope.
Is there anything else, council, to come before us this evening? None appearing, meeting adjourned. Thank you.